Hi, Miss O'Byrne. My name is Eikenhorst. I'm from College Station, Texas, and I was fortunate enough to see you perform as Christine at West End on Saturday, December 15th, 2012. Afterwards, I went and saw you at stage door and was lucky enough to meet you and get your autograph and get a picture with you and talk with you briefly. But I wanted to make a video just so that I could tell you some things that I wasn't able to tell you when I met you in person. Hi, Miss O'Byrne. My name is Eikenhorst. I'm from College Station, Texas, and I was fortunate enough to see you perform as Christine in Phantom at West End on Saturday, December 15th, 2012. Afterwards, I came by stage door and got to meet you and talk with you briefly, and that was really great. And after that, I decided that I was going to write you a letter. I started writing the letter and I didn't really like how it was working out, so then I decided to make a video to tell you some things and basically how I was very impressed by your performance and how much it meant to me to meet you and watch you live. Hi, Miss O'Byrne. My name is Eikenhorst. I'm from College Station, Texas, and I was fortunate enough to see you perform as Christine in Phantom at West End on Saturday, December 15th, 2012. Afterwards, I came by stage door and was able to meet you and talk with you briefly. And after that, I really wanted to write you a letter to tell you how much it meant for me to see you perform and how much of a fan I was, and but I didn't really like how it was coming out, and so I just decided to make a video instead. So first off, seeing Phantom for me, oh, I don't really like that. Okay. So to start off with, I have been a huge Phantom fan since I was probably about 6 years old. My mom had gone to London and seen the play and loved it, and bought the soundtrack soon after, and so I had been listening to that music since I was 6, and completely fell in love with the music. You know, I didn't understand what was going on, and I didn't really understood so to start off with, I've been a huge fan of Phantom since I was little. My mom went to London and she saw, oh, damn it. So to start off with, I'm a huge Phantom fan. My mom went to London when I was young and saw Phantom, and she loved it and bought the soundtrack, and so I've been listening to that since I was probably about 6, and I completely fell in love with the music right away. I didn't know what the story was about. I didn't even know what most of the words meant and what was going on, but just, you know, the music was amazing, and I've always loved it. And then when I was 10, I was fortunate enough to go to London, and while we were there, we did see Phantom, and that was great. But, you know, there were still a lot of things that I didn't quite understand about the storyline, and especially, you know, the emotions that the characters are going through. You know, that's just something that, you know, you're not going to understand at that young age. But as I've gotten older, you know, I continue to understand more and more about those characters, and, the storyline and everything that's happening and a lot of the emotions that they're going through. So it's something that for me just gets better and better with time. So I was very excited to see the play 10 years later. So talk about, 10 long, 10, oh shit! Dang it, I was so close! Damn it. I was on a roll there. So to start off, I'm a huge Phantom fan. When I was young, my mom went to London and saw Phantom, and she loved it and brought back the soundtrack, and so I've been listening to that since I was probably about 6, and anytime we were in the car, we'd listen to it, and I completely fell in love with the music. I didn't know anything about the storyline or what was going on or even like the words that I was singing, but it was just amazing. It was something that I instantly connected with. And then as I got older, my mom would kind of tell me like what was going on, but still, it was kind of hard to understand. But when I was 10, we went to London and I was able to see Phantom live, and that was amazing, but still, it was a younger age, and I didn't quite understand what was going on, and I think for the most part, didn't really understand the emotions, being that young. But as I've gotten older, I understand the characters more and, what they're going through, and, the emotions, are things that I can understand now. And so going at 20 is definitely different than 10, and so I was very excited to be able to see the play now that I understand what's going on. No, I'm like saying the same thing over and over again. Okay. Whew. I'm getting there. So to start off with, I'm a huge Phantom fan. When I was young, my mom went to London and she saw Phantom and absolutely loved it. And so when she came back to the States, she got the soundtrack, and so I've been listening to the soundtrack probably since I was about 6, and absolutely fell in love with the music. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know the story. I didn't know most of the words that I was singing, because I love singing to the soundtrack. But it didn't matter. I instantly kind of connected with that music. So I've grown up listening to the soundtrack. And then when I was 10, we went to London as a family, and I was able to see Phantom, and that was really great. I remember having so much fun, but again, I was 10 years old, and there was a lot of things I didn't understand about the story, and really the emotions, I think mainly, that some of the things just didn't really make sense to me. But as I've gotten older, there's more that I've understood about, the characters and those emotions that they go through. And so the story is something that, just keeps getting better and better for me, because there's more and more that I understand about it. And I feel like throughout my life, even though things have changed a lot as I've gotten older, Phantom has been something that has remained consistent, and something that I learn more and more about, and is something that I'm able to go back to, and it's something that's really, really important to me. Okay. Okay, so let's try that, but maybe a little bit shorter, because I don't want a video that's 20 minutes long. So to start off with, I'm a huge Phantom fan. When I was younger, my mom bought the soundtrack. She had seen the play and loved it. And so I've been listening to the music since I was probably about 6, and instantly fell in love with the music. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know the story. I didn't know most of the words that I was singing, because I absolutely love singing to the soundtrack. But I grew up with the music. And then I was 10, no, oh damn. So to start off with, I'm a huge Phantom fan. I've been listening to the soundtrack since I was probably about 6, and I instantly fell in love with the music. I didn't know anything about the storyline, or I didn't know most of the words I was singing at the time, but just instantly had a connection with the music. And then when I was 10, we went to London, and I got to see the play live, and that was great. But again, there were a lot of things I didn't understand. Being 10, there's a lot of things about the characters that I didn't really understand, and I think mainly the emotions were just on a different maturity level. But as I've gotten older, I've learned more and more about the characters and the emotions and everything that they're going through, and can relate to some of that. And it's just been something that has remained consistent in my life as my life has changed, and something I can always come back to. And it's always so interesting because whenever I come back to it, there's more and more that I learn, and more that's new, based on how I've grown, and more that I understand. And that's great, and something I really appreciate about it, and so it's really important. That was close. Let's try again. So to start off with, I'm a huge Phantom fan. I started listening to the soundtrack, I think when I was about 6 years old, and absolutely fell in love with the music. I didn't know the storyline, I didn't know what was going on, and frankly, I didn't understand half the words that I was saying when I was, dang it, that was close. So to start off with, I'm a huge Phantom fan. I grew up listening to the soundtrack since I was 6, and singing the soundtrack. At the time, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know anything about the story, except for things that my mom had told me. Shit. So to start off with, I'm a huge Phantom fan. I've been listening to the soundtrack since I was 6. I didn't understand what was going on at the time. I didn't really know the story, and frankly, when I was singing the soundtrack, I didn't know what I was saying, but I instantly had a connection with that music. And then when I was 10, we went to London, and I got to see the play live, and that was amazing. But again, I was only 10 years old, and there was a lot of things that I didn't understand, and emotions that the characters felt that I didn't understand. But as I've gotten older, there's more and more that I'm able to understand about the characters and what they're going through, and those emotions that are so important to the play, and kind of the core of the play, that I now understand. And so being able to go back at 20 years old, I was just so excited, and it really was an amazing experience. Okay. Try between those two. I have 2 that are solid on that. So originally, I found out that we were officially going to go in June, and then I'm saying like every other sentence. So I think it was in June that my mom and I officially bought our tickets to go to London. And, right away I said, hey, we need to. So it was in June when we got, I'm stuttering, why? So I remember it was in June when we got our flight tickets to go to London, and I told my mom right away, hey, we need to get Phantom tickets because I want to try to be able to get the best seats, that we possibly can. And so we were able to get 2 seats, front row, and then just a little bit off to the side so we weren't right behind the conductor. And my mom had asked, she said, do you want to go on a Friday or Saturday? And I chose Saturday because I thought that would be, the most popular time. And so I was thinking whoever was, the main Christine, that I would probably want to see her. And so the ums, I'm getting there, but the ums. So, I start what the hell? Well, my mom and I got our Phantom tickets in June. We got them way early because I wanted to make sure we could get the best seats possible, and we did. We were able to get front row seats and then just a little bit off to the side of being in the middle, so we weren't right behind the conductor, and they were absolutely fabulous seats. I can't say enough about how amazing it was to be able to have those seats. But my mom had asked, she said, do you want to go on Saturday or Friday? And I chose Saturday, and I chose, I don't need to talk about the evening because she did the evening anyways. Well, my mom and I actually bought our Phantom tickets in June. We bought them, 6 months ahead of time because I wanted to be able to get the best seats possible and, close. Well, my mom and I actually got our Phantom tickets 6 months in advance. I wanted to be able to get the best seats possible, and, we were very fortunate enough to be able to do that, and we actually got seats that were front row and center, but just a little bit off center, so we weren't right behind the conductor, and they were fabulous seats. But my mom had asked whether I wanted to go on a Saturday or a Friday, and those were the 2 days we were looking at. And I chose Saturday because I thought, that would be the most popular day, and, I would have a better chance of seeing, hopefully the main cast. And so I looked up the cast and who was playing, and I wasn't too familiar with the cast, but I'm not all that familiar with Broadway and West End and stage productions and the actors and actresses. I just knew a few from seeing Love Never Dies and seeing the 25th anniversary edition of Phantom, that film version. And so, that was that. And then a couple months later, I think it ended up being October, actually, that I looked again at the cast, because I know that they had some cast changes. And so I was reading through the names, going through, and then I see Anna O'Byrne, and I was like, wait. Anna O'Byrne, I know that name. I think that's the girl from Love Never Dies. And so, I went back, and sure enough, it was you, and I was a big fan from Love Never Dies, and seeing that, and I was always so impressed by your voice, but also your acting, and I felt like the way you were able to express Christine's emotions and her feelings, and I felt like it was so raw and real. Which I think can be really hard to do. So I was so excited, that you were, that you could be a possibility for me to see. But then I was worried because I had chosen a Saturday evening, and I thought that would be the busiest time and that you might not be performing. But later on, I was able to check on your Twitter and saw that you had posted some dates. And then I saw that, sure enough, you would be performing, and, was so excited. So things ended up working out, and to be honest, whenever I had seen You in Love Never Dies, I thought to myself, wow, like she's really good, and I was so impressed. But I honestly never thought I would be able to see you perform, and I always thought in the back of my head, that would be really cool if I could see her perform, but probably not going to happen. Because at the time you were in Australia and you were finishing up the Love Never Dies tour, I believe, or you just finished up the Love Never Dies tour, and so I didn't think I would really have a chance to go over to Australia. I'm close. What did I start off with? Oh, it was the tickets. Okay. Okay. So my mom and I actually got our Phantom tickets back in June. We got them 6 months ahead of time because I wanted to get the best seats possible, and we did. We got front row and then just a little bit off center, so we weren't right behind the conductor, and those seats were absolutely fabulous. But my mom had asked, she had said, do you want to go on Friday or Saturday? And those were the 2 days that we were planning on going. And so I chose Saturday, and I was hoping just, to be able to have the main cast, to be able to see the main cast, whoever that was. And I looked up, who were the main cast at that time back in June, and, wasn't very familiar with them, but then again, I'm not super familiar with, Broadway and West End and all the stage productions and the actors and actresses. But I was familiar with some people, including you, from seeing the film version of Love Never Dies and then the film version of the 25th anniversary edition of Phantom. But, time went by, and I think it was in October when I checked again, because I knew they had done some cast changing, and so I went on the website and I went through some of the names, and then I see Anne O'Byrne, and I'm like, wait, I know that name. That's the girl from Love Never Dies. It can't be. And I checked, and sure enough, it was you. And I was so surprised because I've been, a fan since seeing you in Love Never Dies, and, I thought your voice was absolutely gorgeous, but I was so impressed by your acting and the way you were able to express these really, really true emotions, and it just felt so real, and I really felt like you gave a lot of depth to Christine, and I think that can be really hard to do, and you made her really interesting for me. So I was very, very excited about that, but then I was worried because I had chosen Saturday, and I was like, oh, you idiot, you chose Saturday, and that's probably the most busiest day, and since she's the alternate, she may not be playing then. And then a little while later, I went on your Twitter page and I saw you had posted some dates, and then I saw that you would be performing on that day, and I got super excited. So that was really great to know. So it finally came down to that Saturday evening, and was so excited and got all dressed up, and I remember sitting down, front row, and being completely amazed at just being there. It had been something that I've been waiting for 10 years. So I know the line in Love Never Dies, 10 long years of yearning, really connect with that line because I'd been waiting so long. And then, the play started, and I remember the overture started, and everything just hit me. And I would say I'm pretty reserved, and I try to be kind of tough, but I started crying and I couldn't stop because I was just so grateful of being there, and I couldn't believe it. And it was something that I had been, waiting for so long, and I was so excited, and to be able to see you perform and being there. And I mean, it's West End, it's London, it's the original production. Like, you just can't beat that. So that was really amazing. I was already, so into the play, and it had just started, and you hadn't even come on stage yet. So I was totally in the mood, and was really, really into it. Okay, let's do that again. So finally that Saturday evening came around, and was so excited, and got all dressed up and everything like that. And I remember sitting down in the theater and just being amazed that I was there, in Her Majesty's front row and pretty damn close to center. And like, I couldn't believe it. Like, it really hadn't, hit me yet. And then the overture came, and everything hit me. It was real. I was there, and I couldn't stop crying. And I'm a pretty reserved person, and I don't cry all the time, and I try to be tough, but like, just all those emotions, and I can't really describe it. You just, no, that's not good. Cut. Okay. So I was looking the other way. So finally, that Saturday evening came around, and I remember getting all dressed up and was really excited. And then we got to the theater, and I remember sitting down and just being so, no, okay. So then finally that Saturday evening came around, and so excited, and got all dressed up and everything like that. And once we got to our seats and we sat down, and I looked up at the stage, I couldn't believe it. It really hadn't hit me yet that we were there, in London at Her Majesty's, seeing the original production of Phantom. It was unbelievable. And the play hadn't even started. So then once the play started, and then I remember the overture started, and I started crying, and I couldn't stop because I was just so excited to be there, and I couldn't believe it. And I just felt so fortunate to be there. I'm so excited, and it had been 10 years since I had seen the play, and so much was riding on this play for me. And my expectations were so high. In fact, they were probably too high and probably unrealistic. But, they were there nonetheless. And then, being able to see you perform, and how I thought that, that would never happen, and it was happening. So I was so excited. And so the experience for me, you couldn't beat it. That was okay, but I don't know if that's gonna work. So finally, that Saturday evening came around, and got all dressed up and went to the theater. And I remember sitting down, and right away, getting in that theater, I started getting so energetic, and so excited, like a little kid, really. And I couldn't believe it that I was actually there, in London, at West End, in Her Majesty's, seeing the original production of Phantom of the Opera, and being front row, nonetheless. So I remember the overture started, and I actually started crying, and I started crying pretty hard, actually, because I couldn't believe, that I was there, and finally, all the emotions, hit me, and it was happening. I was there, and I really was on cloud nine, and fortunately, I didn't have to come off for another 2 hours, but it was truly an amazing experience just hearing that live overture. And in fact, sometimes when I listen to it now, those same feelings come back, and my eyes start to water, and really I'm not a person that cries like all the time or anything. It's just, no, that wasn't good. It had potential, but then it wasn't. Okay, let's try again. So then that Saturday evening finally came around, and got all dressed up, and got to the theater, and I remember sitting down and just being in awe of actually being there in London, at West End, in Her Majesty, seeing the original production of Phantom, and being front row, no less. It's just something that I couldn't believe it. And then the play started, and it was starting, to hit me. And then the overture started, and I lost it. And I would definitely say I'm a reserved person, and I try to act tough, but I started crying, and I started crying pretty hard, because I just, it all hit me, and it meant so much to me to be there, and I felt so fortunate to be there, and there was so much riding on the play. I mean, I had been waiting 10 years. So in Love Never Dies, the line 10 long years of yearning, I could relate to that line. So, I was totally into the play, and nothing else was going on. It was just the play. And so I really felt like I was, no. Or else the video is going to be 20 minutes long. I have to cut it down. Okay. So, no. So then finally, that Saturday evening came around, and, we got to the theater, and I was so excited. And I really couldn't believe that I was there in London, at West End, in Her Majesty, seeing the original production of Phantom, and being front row, no less. So that was just really amazing experience, and So then finally that Saturday evening came around, and we got to the theater way early, and then no. So then that Saturday evening finally came around, and I remember sitting down in my theater seats and being in awe that I was actually there, in London, at West End, in Her Majesty, seeing the original production of Phantom, and being front row, no less. So I really couldn't believe it. And then the play started, and it was actually real. It was actually happening. I was actually there. And then once the overture started, I actually started crying, because it just meant so much to me to be there, and I felt so lucky to be there. And a lot was really riding on the play for me, because it's been something that I've been looking forward to for so long. And last time I was there, it was 10 years ago. And so the line from Love Never Dies, 10 long years of yearning, I could really relate to that. So I was probably in the best, I had the best mentality for that show, and I was totally in it. and there was nothing else distracting me. It was Phantom and Phantom only, and especially being front row, there's nothing but the stage ahead of you. So it was really amazing, to be there, and so I knew the play was going to be absolutely fantastic. So then finally, that Saturday evening came around, and we got to the theater really early, and I remember sitting down in the seats and looking up at the stage, and I honestly could not believe that I was there in London at West End at Her Majesty's, about to watch the original London production of Phantom of the Opera, and being front row, no less. So my emotions were everywhere. And then I remember once the overture started, they all just kind of came together at once, and I started crying. I was so happy and so excited to be there, and I felt so fortunate to be there. And there was so much writing on the play for me. I've been waiting so long. I mean, I was 10 when I had last seen it. Only 10 years old. No, I'm not going to do that. No, not. Okay, keep going, you got this. I'm only like 1/10 through. So then that Saturday evening finally came around, and I remember getting to my theater seats and looking up at the stage, and I could not believe that I was there in London at West End in Her Majesty's, about to see the original production of Phantom, and being front row, no less. So I was beyond excited. And then the play started, and then the overture started. Once the overture started, I actually started crying, because it finally hit me, and I've been waiting for it for so long. I'd spent the last year being excited for the trip, and then the last 6 months when I knew that we had the tickets and everything, and then the last 3 months once I knew you were going to be performing, and so and then 10 years since the last time I had seen it. And so really, in Love Never Dies, the line 10 long years of yearning, I could really relate to that. So I knew right away that this experience was going to be so special for me, and it was going to mean so much. I think that was good. So since I was already, a fan of yours from Love Never Dies, and how much I enjoyed your acting in that, that's something that I really wanted to focus on while I was there, and I wanted to pick up every little thing, that you did, and so being front row, that really helped, because I was so close, to the stage, and I was able to see your facial expressions and, no, that sounds creepy. So since I'm already very familiar with, the soundtrack and the music, I really wanted to focus on all the acting, and I was very excited to see how you were going to play Christine and how you were, going to play her character, because I think there's really a lot of ways, that you can do that. And so I was very impressed. No. Okay. So since I'm very familiar with the music from Phantom, I really wanted to focus on the acting and the acting choices that the cast made during the play, and I was very excited to see how you were going to play Christine and what was your take on her. So I really focused on that while I was watching the play, and there were several things that really, hit me that I wasn't necessarily expecting, but I thought they were really special, and they really meant a lot to me and made the play and her character more interesting. Um, so from the beginning, I kind of got a feeling from your Christine that she was still innocent and very no 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 no. One of the first things that I picked up on was that your Christine, was very similar to normal Christines, or the average Christines, at least that I'm used to, in that, of course, she's very innocent and youthful and no. One of the first things that I picked up on was how you played Christine as being, to me, a little bit more no. Um, Youthful. one of the first things that I remember picking up on, based on how your Christine interacted with Raoul and with the Phantom when she first meets him, is that it seemed like your Christine was maybe a little bit more independent, and was a little bit more no. This is gonna be tough because I'm tired. One of the first things that I picked up on was pretty much right off the bat was that your Christine, I just had this feeling, the way that you were portraying her, and that the emotions that you were expressing, and that she wasn't going to be the same old innocent, doe-eyed Christine. There was just some sort of an aura of like a little bit more independence and strength, and maybe like a little bit of bravery, but I was just getting like little hints just from like really, really subtle things, but for me that was really interesting, and I was really looking forward to what else was going to progress, and how you were going to take her character through this journey of the story. So initially, one of the big things for me was when the Phantom first takes her down to his lair, and normally Christine's very, kind of like I said before, very innocent and doe-eyed, and kind of completely entranced by the Phantom, and scared, but kind of under his control, I feel like, from my experience. But I felt like yours was still, she was very intrigued by the Phantom, and still somewhat fearful, but she wasn't quite so. Nope, I didn't get it. I have to like come up with these words out of nowhere, and it's so hard now that I'm tired. I gotta get this. So one of the first things that I really liked was how you played Christine when the Phantom first takes her down to his lair. And I feel like, the average stereotypical Christine is, that she's very innocent and very shy and, curious, but that she's entranced by the Phantom. And in your case, I felt like she wasn't quite as entranced, but more intrigued, and that, and I feel like that kind of goes a little bit with the like maybe the independence, or, that she's slightly stronger, that, she still kind of had a little bit of, control over herself, and, I really liked that, because it was a little different, and for me, that was a little bit more relatable, and made her a little bit more interesting. And then I remember specifically whenever you take the Phantom's mask off and he runs after you, and you trip, and it was very realistic trip. I thought you did very well. And I know that's probably something that you don't get complimented on often, or maybe not at all, but it was very realistic. And in fact, I thought, dang, she probably has bruises on her knees and her elbows, or her arms, from having to do that all the time. And while we were there in London, my mom and I did go and see Phantom again. But we were not able to see you perform again because just the way the days were, it didn't work out. So I was able to compare your performance first, seeing that first, and then seeing, Phantom again with, the different cast. And so compared to that cast, I felt like your trip was very good. I think the next thing that I really liked was when Christine and Raoul go up onto the roof, and Raoul says, "There is no Phantom of the Opera." While I saw no, sorry. Another thing that I really liked was when Christine and Raoul go up onto the roof and Raoul says, "There is no Phantom of the Opera." When you were performing as Christine, you actually, pushed him away and were kind of angry that he didn't believe you. And I had never seen that before. And to me, I think that's a very true emotion. That's someone that, you care about and they don't believe you, and this is something that's very serious to you, and you're afraid, and, you're scared of the Phantom, and then he doesn't even believe you. And so to me, I think pushing him away, that was a very realistic choice, and I really liked that. I thought that was really interesting, and that also showed Christine as being a little bit more fiery and to me stronger, instead of crying into Raoul's, shoulder and embracing him. Another thing that I really liked was when Christine and Raoul go up to the roof and Raoul says, "There is no Phantom of the Opera." And when I saw you perform, you actually pushed him away when he said that, and you were very, angry. And to me, that's a very realistic emotion to have, at that time, because, you care about Raoul, and it's a very serious situation for you, and, you're scared, and then he doesn't believe you. And for me, that showed that Christine was a little bit of a stronger character, and maybe a little bit more bold, or wasn't quite so I guess kind of petite and harmless, that she could be a little bit fiery, and that made her more interesting, because I hadn't seen anyone portray her in that way. And then after that, of course, no, sorry. And then after that, All I Ask of You comes on next, and I remember being very, very impressed with, how you expressed Christine's, love and affection for Raoul, and I thought it looked very real, and I feel like that's hard to do with love, because there's kind of stereotypical looks or expressions, and I felt like yours seemed very real, and I believed that you were Christine and that you were in love with Raoul, and you couldn't believe that he was professing his love, and it just felt really real, and I really appreciated that, because I think sometimes, that isn't done as well. And then, of course, the next thing that comes along is All I Ask of You. And I remember being very, very impressed on, how you did that, and how you expressed Christine's, love and, affection for Raoul, and, how you, how you felt when Raoul professed his love for Christine, and it all just seemed so real, and the emotions just seem so real, and I think that can be very hard to do while you're acting, and I feel like sometimes you can kind of, see through it, and sometimes that's really hard to express in a realistic way, but I felt like, your version of how you did Christine was very realistic, and I really appreciated that, because I felt like it gave, more depth to her character at that point, and more depth to that scene. So that was really cool. And of course, after that comes All I Ask of You, and I remember. And of course, after that comes All I Ask of You, and I remember being very impressed by how you played Christine in this scene, because your emotions were so real, and all the facial expressions, and how you showed that Christine was in love with Raoul, and how she feels when he professes his love, and it was so realistic, and I felt like those emotions, were so true. And again, I think that can be hard to do, because there's kind of some stereotypical looks and things that you do when you're in love, and I felt like what you did was very realistic, and it gave Christine's character in that scene more depth, and gave the scene more depth, and made it more interesting. And for me, it just put that scene, like a notch up, a notch better. So I really, really liked that a lot. Oh, I forgot about Muto. I remember being very surprised, but very impressed by your acting in Il Muto. I wasn't expecting it to be so funny, and I had seen other versions on YouTube, and of course the 25th anniversary edition that was filmed, but I thought you were absolutely hilarious. And there were several times that I started laughing because, of your facial expressions. And I know at one point there was some big, goofy, cheeky smile that you did, because, your character in that scene, is able to kiss Carlotta, and right before you did it, you had this big grin, and it was hilarious. And that was something that I wasn't expecting at all, and not that I don't think you're funny, but it was just, I was impressed, and that was something for me that just made that scene so much more special than, just the normal, average take on it. I also remember being so impressed by how you performed in Il Muto. I thought that scene was so much more funny, than any other time I had seen it performed. and I had seen a couple takes of it on YouTube, and then of course Phantom 25th. But I thought you were like absolutely hilarious, and there were several times that I really, laughed out loud because I thought your facial expressions and how you were playing the character was so funny. And I remember that, at one point your character is able to kiss Carlotta, or, okay, hang on, sorry. I also remember being so impressed by how you did Il Muto, how you did that scene, and I totally wasn't expecting it because I thought it was absolutely hilarious. And I had seen that scene a couple times, seen different versions of it on YouTube, and then also, in Phantom 25th. But I thought you were absolutely, hilarious. And I wasn't expecting it to be so funny and so special, but I remember specifically that your character gets so kind of excited and happy that he's able to kiss, Carlotta's character, that you had this, huge, goofy but cheeky smile that you get to kiss her, and it was hilarious, and that's something that I wasn't expecting, and I thought that was really cool because it really was funny. So that was something special that made that scene so much more fun. Another scene that I was really anticipating was the twisted every way bit, because I really feel like you can connect with Christine's character in that moment of how vulnerable and scared she is, and she doesn't know what she can do, and I had never ever connected with her character like I did when you did that scene, and I actually my eyes started to water because no, that wasn't good. No. Another scene that I was really anticipating was the twisted every way bit, and that's a scene that to me is very, very important for Christine's character, and shows her in that very vulnerable state. She's so scared and she has no idea what she's going to do. But I was so in awe of how you were doing it, and again, those emotions were so real, and I was instantly able to connect with Christine like I never have before in that scene. And I actually found myself with my jaw open and just like in awe, but at the same time I was nearly crying, so I had my jaw open but I had like this big frown on my face, because you just feel so bad for Christine at that point. But that really was such an amazing scene, and how you did it, it was amazing, and I was so awestruck. It was crazy. Blah 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 blah. Another scene that I was really anticipating was the twisted every way bit there, and that scene's just so important, for Christine's character, and how she's so vulnerable and scared, and she has no idea what she's going to do, and I honestly have never connected with Christine's character like I did in that moment, in that scene. And I remember, like, I found myself with my jaw, open in awe of how, you were performing that scene, and how real your emotions were, and you were just able to instantly connect to them and, connect to that character. And at the same time, I was, like, about to cry, and so I have, my mouth is open, but I'm also, have this, like, huge frown. So it's kind of like an awkward, facial expression, but I was completely in awe of how you did that, and so impressed. It was probably the best version that I've ever seen. Another scene that I was really anticipating was the twisted every way, bit. And that scene is just so important for, Christine's development, and you really see, how vulnerable and scared she is, and how she doesn't know what she's going to do. And the way you did it, your emotions were just so real, so realistic. And I could instantly connect to her character in that scene, and I was so in awe of how you were performing it and how you did it, that my jaw was actually, open. But I also had a frown on my face because, and I started crying a little bit because, you feel so bad for her. But that was probably the most powerful version of that scene that I've ever seen, the most powerful take on it, and how you did that. That was absolutely fantastic. And also it was fun to hear some of those same lines that I'm so used to hearing in Love Never Dies, and hearing you say those same lines, that was kind of cool as well. Then after that, wishing came, and again, I was in awe of how you played Christine in that scene, and all of her emotions, you were just able to convey them so well. And I honestly didn't even cry, but yet again, I found my jaw open and, slack in awe. And it was probably the most powerful performance of wishing that I've ever seen, and I in my spare time, I like looking on YouTube and comparing everyone's performances of Christine, during certain scenes. And so I've seen a lot of versions of Wishing, and, I was absolutely stunned by how well you did it. And, the whole theater was with you, and you could feel that energy and, everything. It was amazing to be able to witness and to be able to experience that. It was truly wonderful. And then the next scene was Wishing, and that scene was on another level. I frequently watch other people's versions on YouTube, other casts, and no, sorry. Mm-mm. And then the next scene after that was Wishing, and that performance was on another level. I frequently like looking on YouTube and seeing all the other versions and the other mm, and then the next scene after that was Wishing, and your version was like on another level. When I have time, I like looking up different versions of scenes from Phantom, stuff that people have recorded and put up. No, of course they recorded and put it on YouTube. And then the scene after that was Wishing, and I mean, your performance was on another level. When I have time, I do like looking up other casts and how they perform, certain scenes in the play. And so I'm very used to how some of the main Christines throughout the years have performed certain scenes. And that scene, honestly, by far was the best. And the way you were able to express her emotions, and again, like I feel like a broken record, and I keep saying the same thing, but it was just so real. It's something that, dang it, God, why do I keep screwing up? Every time. And then the next scene after that was Wishing. And I mean, your performance was, And then the next scene after that was Wishing, and I mean, your performance was way above any of the others that I've seen. And I do like looking on YouTube and comparing different casts' versions of scenes and how they play them. So I had seen a lot of other versions, and by far I think yours was the best, and I felt, I keep repeating the same damn thing every freaking time. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. And then the next scene after that was Wishing, and that was another scene that I was really anticipating, because I had seen in an interview that you really liked that song and performing that, and I had seen a lot of other versions of different casts performing that on YouTube, and so I had a good feel of how people did it. And I was blown away by your performance and how you're able to express all those emotions that Christine is feeling, and you really gave so much depth, to her character, in that moment and in that scene, and it was so special, and you could just feel, the audience was with you in that scene, and it was just kind of like electric, and I'm so glad I was able to witness that and be there and be able to experience that, because it was absolutely fantastic. And then came the point of no return, which is probably one of my favorite scenes, because I feel like it's such a fun scene, and I think it would be really fun to perform. But that scene, there were so many little things that you did that that I really liked. But I know at one point, when the Phantom, and he brings his hands down, and you kind of, bring your hand away, and that, that was really fun. And then, halfway through that performance, it's like Christine kind of realizes that it's him, or she's pretty sure it's him. And after that, you could tell how uneasy your Christine was, and uncomfortable. And to me, that was really, really realistic, because most of the time, the Christines that I've seen in that scene, they act as if everything's normal until, damn it. Then came the point of no return, which for me is probably one of my more favorite scenes. I just think it's a really fun scene, and to me it'd be really fun to perform. But there were several things that you did that that I thought were really cool, and one of which was when the Phantom brings his hands down. In the beginning, you kind of pull your hand back. And I really liked that. I thought that was really cool and really fun. And then, halfway through that performance, Christine realizes, it's the Phantom, or, she's pretty sure it is. And, to me, I was always confused by how, when other people played Christine, they played her as if, she kind of like goes back to normal and like continues performing and like nothing's wrong. But I remember for you could still kind of tell that, Christine, that she was kind of, anxious and nervous and uncomfortable, and, you could tell, and it was very subtle, which, I really liked. And I thought that was something really special, and for me kind of very true to emotion to have, at that point. And then I remember whenever you bring the Phantom's hands, up, that you had this like really, really like pained expression, and like you were a little bit disgusted that you had to do it, and you were like, oh my god, I can't believe I have to do this. And to me that was really special, because I felt like that was something that was very true, a very true like emotion to be feeling at that time, and again very realistic. And then when it came time for you to take the Phantom's mask off, that you weren't very delicate about it. You kind of like went in for it and quickly wiped it off, and to me that showed Christine having, maybe a little bit more, again, kind of like strength or like bravery, or that she was, frustrated with the Phantom for everything that he's kind of had to, put her through. So again, that kind of reinforced that whole, Christine being a little bit more, like a stronger character. And then the next scene that I was really impressed with was the point of no return, and for me that's probably one of my favorite scenes. I think that's a really fun scene, and I think it would be really fun to perform. But there were a few things that I really liked that you did, and one of which was when the Phantom brings his hands down, you kind of moved your hand away, and I thought that was really fun. But then once Christine, like partway through that performance, once Christine realizes it's the Phantom, or she's pretty sure it is. Most of the time, from the other performances that I've seen of Christine's in that scene, is that they remain very calm, like nothing's happened, and aren't very affected by that. But with your Christine, I could damn it. And another scene was the point of no return, and for me personally, that's probably one of my favorite scenes. I just think it's a really fun scene, and I think it would be pretty fun to perform. But there were several things that you did that I really liked. One of which was whenever the Phantom brings his hands down in the beginning, you kind of moved your hand away, and I thought that was really cool. And then after that, partway through that scene when Christine realizes that it's the Phantom, or she's pretty sure it is. Most Christines that I've seen, perform that scene, they kind of like act like everything's normal, and that they aren't so scared, or they aren't so anxious and uncomfortable. It's kind of like they just go on like nothing's happened. And when you performed it, you could tell, it was very subtle, but you could tell that Christine was kind of strained and, very uncomfortable in the situation. And then, and I felt like that was a very true emotion, to have in that scene. And then I remember whenever you brought the Phantom's hands up, you had, a very, uncomfortable look on your face, and kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to do this, God, please help me. And I thought that was very true, and a very real emotion, or emotions to have in that moment. And then the last thing was whenever you take the Phantom's mask off. Some people, when I've seen it, they're kind of like more gentle about it, or kind of like they take it off in kind of like a scared way. But yours was very kind of like defiant, and kind of more bold, and you wanted to get it over with, and you yanked it off, and to me that showed Christine as being a little bit more brave, or being a little bit of a stronger character, and again, kind of like being a little bit defiant because of everything that the Phantoms put her through. And I really liked that. I thought that was special. And then another scene was the point of no return, which for me is definitely one of my favorite scenes. I just think that's a really fun scene, and I think it would be really fun to perform. But there were several things that you did that I thought were really interesting, and that I really liked. But one of which was when the Phantom brings his hands down, you kind of bring your hand away, and I thought that was really fun. And then the next thing is halfway through that scene, Christine realizes it's the Phantom, or at least she's thinking that it could be, and to me, no, I'm screwed up. Then the next scene would be the point of no return. For me, that's definitely one of my more favorite scenes. I think that it's just a really fun scene, and I think it would be really fun to perform. But there were several things that you did that I was very impressed with, or that I liked, and I know one of which was when the Phantom, first brings his hands down, you kind of, no, he kind of, okay, hang on. Then the next scene would be the point of no return. And for me, that's definitely one of my more favorite scenes. I just think that's a really fun scene. I think it would be very fun and interesting to perform. I say fun and interesting every fring. Okay. Then the next scene would be the point of no return. That's definitely one of my favorite scenes. I just think that's a really fun scene. I think it would be very fun to perform. But there were several things that you did that I really liked, and one of those was when the Phantom comes and he runs his hand, along you. You kind of, bring your hand away, and I thought that was a really good choice. And then halfway through that scene, of course, Christine realizes that it's the Phantom, or she's thinking it is. And most of the time when I've seen people perform that scene, they act as if nothing's happened and that everything's perfectly fine. And to me, that's not quite accurate. I don't think she'd be able to act like everything's perfectly fine, and so whenever you performed it, you could tell, it was very subtle, but that, Christine kind of became, more nervous or more anxious, more uncomfortable, and, I thought that was good because that gave her, made her more dimensional. And then, whenever you have to bring the Phantom's hands up, I specifically remember you had this very uncomfortable look on your face, and you kind of looked up and almost as if you were like, oh my God, why do I have to do this? Like, God, why are you putting me through this? And I felt like that was very real and very true, for her in that scene. And then the last thing was whenever it was time for Christine to take the Phantom's mask off, there's some people who do it and it's kind of like they're scared and they kind of are like, having to take it off. But how you did it, you were very defiant and really, ripped it off. And to me, that showed Christine as being, again, kind of like a bit stronger, a bit more bold, and kind of like more fiery. And so I thought that was really cool and really interesting. A really interesting choice there. It was very subtle, but I liked it. Then of course you come down to the final layer, and throughout that scene there were a few little things that you did that again kind of showed Christine as being like a little bit more independent and kind of very sure of herself, and how she was so angry with the Phantom. And sometimes other Christines can be I feel like a little bit more scared. But I didn't really feel that so much with your character. And I know at one point when the Phantom lunges at Raoul, whenever you stuck yourself in front of him, you glared at the Phantom, and other times I've seen it, some of the Christines have kind of gone like that. And so I liked your version better. And again, that kind of reinforced the whole, Christine being a little bit stronger and just, being able to hold her own a little bit more. And, I like that. And then whenever it came time for Christine to say God give me courage to show you that you're not alone. You were very adamant in the way you said that, and very determined, and not so much like kind of scared and worried and like, oh God, I have to do this, please help me. And so, that was interesting. And then of course the kiss, that's always interesting to see how people do it. And in fact, I'm a little bit disappointed because I was looking at Marcus Lovett for the majority of the time, and so I didn't really spend a lot of time seeing like what you did, but I guess, I get the picture. And then whenever it came time to give the ring back to the Phantom afterwards, there's some times where certain Christines are a little bit more conflicted about, it seems like possibly choosing him, or like they're just like unsure and everything. But your Christine was, I would say, conflicted about kind of having to like hurt his feelings, but was very adamant that's what she was going to have to do, and she was going to have to give the ring back. And I remember you kind of like looked down at it, but that you were very oh, I forgot about the shit. I'm probably making the scene too long. I need to cut it down. Okay, I need to cut it down. Then the last scene was, the final lair, and there were several things that you did throughout that scene that kind of reinforced, in my opinion, Christine being a little bit more of a stronger character. And I know at one point, whenever the Phantom lunges at Raoul, once he's strung up, you put yourself in front of him, and some Christines, when they do that, they kind of, are scared and kind of, ugh. But you did it, and you really glared at him and were more defiant. And then when it came time to say, God show me courage. God give me courage to show you. Okay, alright. Then, of course, the final scene is... Then finally, the end, the final lair comes along, and there were several things that you did in that scene that kind of reinforced the idea of Christine being a little bit more of like a stronger Christine. And one of those was when the Phantom, he lunges at Raoul as he's tied up, and you have to get in the way. And sometimes I've seen Christines, and when they do that, they kind of look scared, and they do that. But yours, whenever you did it, you glared at him, and you were, very, very defiant, and, you were not going to let him, hurt Raoul. And then when it came down to the line, God give me courage to show you that you're not alone, the way you did that, you were very, sure, and you were very determined, that this is what you're going to do. While some other Christines, when they do it, they're a little bit more like, oh, I can't believe I have to do this. Like, okay, here we go. And then, of course, the kiss is always something interesting because everyone, does that a little bit differently. Unfortunately, I'm a little disappointed in myself because I was looking at the way Marcus Lovett was acting at that point, so I didn't really pay attention to what you were doing so much. And then the last thing was giving the ring back to the Phantom, and how some Christines, when they have to do that, there's some who almost like consider, maybe not rejecting him, and they kind of consider more with the ring, and they look so conflicted, and but with yours, I felt like you were conflicted in that, you don't want to hurt the Phantom's, feelings, obviously, but again, that you had made your choice and you were sure of yourself and you were confident in the decision that you made, because in the end you kind of did like a little nod and then gave it back, and so again that kind of reinforced for me Christine's character being being more confident in herself and being a little bit stronger. So then it came down to the final lair, and there were several things that you did in that scene that kind of reinforced Christine, for me, being a little bit more of a stronger Christine. And one of those was when the Phantom lunges at Raoul. You have to get in the way, and some Christines, when they get in the way, they kind of do this, thing. But whenever you did it, you really, glared at him, and, were angry, that about him threatening Raoul, and then, of course, whenever he takes you and kind of like, bowls you over, I remember you beat at his chest, again, kind of like an act of defiance, while some Christines just kind of, do that maneuver. And then it came to the line of, God give me courage to show you that you are not alone. And whenever you said that line, you were very determined and kind of like on a mission, and that's what you were going to do, very confident in what you had to do, and you did that. And I'm a little disappointed in myself because I was paying attention to Marcus Lovett during the kiss, and it's always interesting to see how the Phantoms do the kiss. So I didn't really see exactly what you did, but then was when you have to give the ring back to the Phantom. That was another thing. Some Christines, they seem really conflicted, and it's almost like when they look down at the ring, it's almost like they're questioning whether they should choose Raoul, or they're just having a harder time making that decision. But your Christine seemed pretty adamant. It didn't take all that much time for her to figure out, what she was going to do. And then when she made the choice, she was very confident in that. And I remember you kind of looked down at the ring, and then you kind of nodded and gave it back, like you were completely confident in your choice, and that was it. And then you were on your way. So after the show, once I had time to really think about everything, there were definitely some things that you did, some acting choices that I was surprised by, just because I wasn't used to them, or hadn't seen them before. But once I brought everything together, in the end, I felt like your Christine, like I've said, was a little bit more confident, or independent, again, like a stronger character. And to me, I had never really seen Christine as being a heroine or some sort of character to look up to, because the way some people portrayed her, I kind of felt like she was a little bit weak. And although she had growth throughout the story, and she became stronger, I still didn't really think that she was necessarily a strong character. However, I felt that your version, or how I took, your acting and how you portrayed her, that she still remained Christine, that it's not like her character changed, but that she was just more of a stronger Christine. And I really liked that, because to me it was more relatable, and it was very interesting. And then I know that okay, I need to reduce that a little bit. So after the show, once I had time to think about, everything, I realized that all of your acting choices that I thought were really interesting, just because, I'm sorry. So then after the show, once I had time, I really thought about everything, that happened and all of your acting choices, and a lot of it I wasn't expecting, just because I had never seen some of the acting choices that you did before. But I kind of came to the conclusion, that you're Christine, or at least how I took your portrayal of Christine, was that she was, perhaps a little bit more independent, or a little bit more confident, had a little bit more strength, and just for me, I really enjoyed that because I felt like, that was more relatable, and I felt like she was really a true heroine. And kind of the stereotypical Christine, I never really viewed as a heroine because, how some people portrayed her. I felt like she was a little bit on the weak side, and for me, that wasn't really a heroine that I would look up to. But I really enjoyed your Christine and how you did that. So after the show, once I had some time to really take everything in and think about things, and think about all of the acting choices that I thought were very interesting, because I wasn't expecting them. I hadn't seen them before. I came to the conclusion, like I've said many times so far, that I felt like your Christine was much stronger, or at least how I took your portrayal of Christine, and that she was more confident and kind of more independent, and to me she was just like a stronger heroine, and I honestly never really viewed the stereotypical Christine as being much of a heroine, because I felt like she was a little bit more of a weaker character at times, and that annoyed me a bit. But the way you portrayed Christine, to me that was a lot more relatable and so much more interesting. So I thought that was really fantastic that you brought that to the character. So after the show was over and I had some time to really think about, everything that happened, there were a lot of things that you did that I was surprised by, and I thought were really interesting, but that was just because I had never seen those before and I wasn't really expecting it. But I came to the conclusion, like I've said multiple times throughout the video, is that I felt like your Christine was much stronger, and was more confident and more independent. And to me, that was really great, because I felt like I could relate to that a little bit more. And I really felt like your Christine, the way I felt you portrayed the character, was much more of a heroine that could be looked up to, instead of the stereotypical Christine. Because I feel like the stereotypical Christine is more of a weaker character, and to me, not really a heroine to be looked up to. So that was really great, to be able to see a different version of that, and what you brought to the character, and it was so much more dimensional and interesting, and so that made the show so much better and so much more fun and entertaining. It was great. I know you had said in an interview, I saw it on YouTube, that whenever you came to this part Shit, no. I know you had said in an interview, and I don't know if it was one that was filmed or one that oh shit. I know you had said in some sort of interview, whether that was a video or some sort of oral interview that became a write-up, that whenever you came to this Christine, you weren't really going to bring Love Never Dies with you into this character, and that you were going to try to, revisit Christine, pre-Love Never Dies. And I really, even though you did that, I still felt that there was a connection between your Christine in Phantom and your Christine in Love Never Dies. And I feel like, the strength. No, okay. I know you had said in an interview at some point that whenever you were going to be playing Christine in Phantom of the Opera in London, that you weren't going to bring everything that you kind of learned and your experiences from Love Never Dies, that you weren't going to bring that into that. I know you had said in an interview that you were not going to bring your experiences with Love Never Dies into your character of Christine in Phantom, and I know you had said in an interview that you weren't going to bring your experiences as the older Christine in Love Never Dies into playing the younger Christine in Phantom again, but I still felt a little bit of connection to the characters, and I think that just has to do with, your view of Christine, and, with Christine in Phantom, how I felt you portrayed her, of being stronger. Like, I definitely felt that in Christine in Love Never Dies, and I think that's another reason why I really loved how you portrayed her in Love Never Dies, is I just felt like, she was a stronger character in her being a mother, and, there were times that she could have submitted to the Phantom right away, but she didn't, and she, she stayed strong. No, I need to, how do I word that? I know you had said in an interview at some point that you were not going to bring your experiences as Christine in Love Never Dies to Christine in the Phantom of the Opera. I know you had said in an interview that you were not going to bring your experiences as the older Christine in Love Never Dies to this new role of the younger Christine in Phantom. And, I think that was, obviously like a wise choice, but I do still feel like there is a connection between those two characters, of the portrayals of those two characters that I saw of yours, and I think that just has to do with how you view Christine and just how you play her, and I thought that was really cool, because part of the reason why I loved your portrayal of Christine in Love Never Dies is because I feel again that she's a little bit more of a stronger character, and there's times that she could have given into the Phantom in the beginning, but she kind of holds her ground a little bit until the end, when it's just that how do I word this? Damn it. What time is it? I don't even know what time it is. 8:40, okay. I need to finish this up quick. I know you had said in an interview that you would not be bringing your experiences as the older Christine in Love Never Dies to this new role of the younger Christine in Phantom. But I still felt that there was a little bit of connection in those characters, and I think that just has to do with how you see her character and how you portray her. And I think that was one of the reasons why I was so impressed with you in Love Never Dies and how you portray her. And I really could see how, the Christine in Phantom, if things were different, could possibly be, that Christine the older Christine in Love Never Dies. And how both of those characters, again, are a little bit stronger Christines. So anyways, I thought that was really cool, and that's something that again, I really appreciate, how you kind of change that character up a little bit. I did see in an interview somewhere that you had said that you would not be bringing your experiences as the older Christine in Love Never Dies to this new character of the younger Christine in Phantom. And, even though you kind of, reimagined, the newer Christine, I still felt that there was a little bit of a connection between those two characters, and I think that's, just the way that kind of your view of how you portray Christine, and I could really feel that in how you performed in Phantom and what I'm used to from seeing Love Never Dies. And again, kind of that strength to me, and that she is kind of more of like a heroine, that really stood out to me. And I know that in some of your interviews, the word integrity, seems to pop up, and I really feel like that your integrity in playing those two roles, it really shows, and all the work that you put into the character Christine, and how much that role means to you, that the integrity, shows, and I think that's the reason why your performance as that character is just, I'm getting there. Have to tie in integrity. I know I saw in an interview that you had said that you would not be bringing your experiences as the older Christine in Love Never Dies into this new role of I know you had said in an interview that you would not be bringing your experiences as the older Christine in Love Never Dies to, this newer, to this reimagining of, I know you had said in an interview that you would not be bringing your experiences as Christine. I know you had said in an interview that you would not be bringing your experiences as the older Christine in Love Never Dies to this kind of reimagining of the younger Christine in Phantom, since you've already played the part. But I still did feel like there was a little bit of a connection between those two characters, and how you portrayed her. And I really think that comes down to the integrity of your work. And I know that word comes up in your interviews, and that's something that's really important to you. And I feel like the way you portrayed her in Phantom and then in Love Never Dies, that connection is there because of that integrity and that kind of consistency, and just the way that the way you view her character, and I just thought that was really cool to be able to connect to her character even more so, because of being able to connect her at the younger age and the older age, even though those, you know, those plays are so different, and even though you reimagined her, but still that just the way you view her, getting there. Is it still going? 2 minutes?